Now I'd like to switch over and introduce Tina Wade, who is our Career and Transfer Center Specialist, and she'll be sure to give a little presentation and answer your transfer and career questions. Tina?
Hi everyone. I'm not sure what's going on with my video just yet, but just give me a second. I will figure this out to hopefully give myself video privileges. But regardless, it seems like you can hear me, so I'm sure we can proceed without me talking or without my video and just me talking in the background. So I've seen a few questions already talking or asking about the transfer admission guarantee known as the TAG offered by UCs. And so this is the time when we're going to dive into TAG a little bit and specifically talk about how to do that and what that looks like at the UC system. So just a little brief overview of the TAG, the Transfer Admission Guarantee offered by 6 of the UCs. It is offered only by these 6 UC campuses. So Davis, Irvine, Merced, Riverside, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz do participate in the TAG program. The other 3 UCs that are not listed do not participate, and those are UCLA, UC San Diego, and UC Berkeley. And I haven't seen any changes to that over the past several years. Typically, those are the campuses that do and don't participate in the guarantee, and generally the reason is that the other campuses not mentioned get too many applicants to be able to offer a guarantee. But it is a great backup at the very least for students who are interested in transferring to a UC, just to give you peace of mind that you know you're going to get into a UC somewhere and that you can wait to get in and apply to the other UCs while you know that you have your guarantee to one of these 6. So down below, you can see that you can submit a TAG application to one of the 6 participating UCs. So you do have to choose between the 6 here, which one you're going to use your TAG for. And then you can apply to all 9 campuses come November when the general application process opens. So moving forward, hopefully this works out. So just to give you an example, and let me just back up as well and just share a couple of disclaimers, is that this information that I'm going to share, any examples that I'm giving you today, are really only applicable to the fall 2021 application cycle. So students who are actively applying right now to start next year, that is the examples that I'm sharing. And each year the criterion could change. And so the campuses that are listed here may not be participating when you know, a few years out. We just don't know yet. So I'm just going to share that disclaimer. Also that the slides and everything that's here, I believe this recording is going to go out to everybody. So don't feel rushed to try to write everything down and take down like every GPA criterion, because like I said before, things change. And so what you're going to see here could be quite different from what the situation is a couple years from now. So I would just say to look at this and give you an idea of how it works currently, and then to check back on the website that I'll share at the very end for more current information when your year comes. So for TAG 2021, to start next year, the excluded majors for TAG, as I mentioned before, there are 6 campuses that participate, but some of those do not offer TAG for these specific majors. So probably the most notable ones are Irvine Business Administration and Business Information Management, Cog-Sci Language Science, and then any of the performing arts, as well as nursing. As well, Santa Barbara has all of the majors in engineering and creative studies. Those do not participate in TAG. And then Santa Cruz is pretty wide open. They don't have any excluded majors for TAG, so it's an open book. So how do I transfer and get a TAG? A lot of students ask, can I sign up for the TAG program? How do I sign up for the TAG program? There is not a TAG program. It's really just learning about the requirements so that you know that how to meet them, like learn the criterion, and then figure out how to, plan to get the GPA that you need and complete the courses that you need within the timeline stated, and then submit an early application. That's pretty much all it is. All you have to do is meet the criterion and then apply early. And so what you'll see here is basically a timeline of basically the final year before you transfer. And so a student who is preparing to TAG before they apply is they should complete at least 30 or more UC transferable units, meet the minimum tag GPA, and tag campus and major requirements. So pretty much that means you have to research a little bit and see what the requirements are for that specific tag campus and the tag major, because there could be special criterion for just your major or your campus that you're interested in going to, as each one could vary. But each one does require at least 30 UC transferable units to be done before you submit your application in your final year. And then in your last September, before you transfer, you're going to be submitting your tag application. It's a very straightforward application. It takes maybe 30 minutes to complete, and it's free. So when students ask me, like, should I do it? I'm like, yes, you should always, if you're eligible, you should always apply, and it's not going to hurt you for the other UCs that you may be applying for. It could only just give you that backup for one campus while you're waiting to hear back from the others. Because you're going to be submitting your final or your general application for all the other UCs, including your tag campus, in November. So right now is when our students who are leaving us next year are applying for UCs. And so just to keep these timelines in mind, we just put it out on a timeline here. And then your final fall and spring semesters, you're going to fulfill all the remaining coursework, unit requirements, and GPA requirements for the tag. Just a note is that Merced does accept spring tags, and then Riverside accepts winter tags. That's pretty much an exception. Usually those are the only schools that do that. Everybody else only does fall tags. But if you are interested in those, then the timelines are listed there in May and July. So again, this is an example for a tag 2021 year. Students have to complete English and math by a certain timeline. You know what? Actually, I think this is the wrong headline. But the tag 2021 year, these are the GPA minimums. Sorry, so the title got a little switched around, but these are the GPA minimums. And when we say GPA, we're talking about the UC transferable GPA. So if a student takes a non-transferable class at DVC or at any college before UC, then that course grade will not be factored into the UC GPA. So we're just talking about UC transferable courses. That cumulative GPA has to be at least this number to be eligible for tag to these campuses. So generally you'll see that engineering is always higher, ranging from 3.0 to 3.5 over at Davis. And then these GPA requirements must be completed or met by the time you apply. So by September, usually that means you have to get these in by the summer semester by the time you're applying. There are some exceptions, though. Santa Barbara and Santa Cruz do allow students to, if you're like on the fringe with your GPA and you don't quite meet the GPA minimums, you can pull your GPA up in your final fall semester before you transfer, and then that would allow you to be eligible at the last minute. So there are some exceptions, but you always want to check the major preparation notes on the UC campus tag website and on a website called assist.org for major specific grade and GPA requirements and course completion requirements. So I'm going to show you an example in the next slide about what that looks like, particularly for Davis. If I want to tag to Davis in a computer science major. Sorry, here's the slide. So if I want to go to Davis as a computer science major, then the requirements as of now for fall 2021 would include these courses with a 3.4 GPA. So pretty much our calculus series, equivalent to their Math 21 ABC, and then engineering computer science courses 2050 36 AC, the equivalent of those courses at DVC. I'd have to pull that off with a 3.4 cumulative GPA between all those courses. So in addition to the general tag requirements, like I showed you before, which are the GPA shown here, I'd also have to meet this additional requirement for my major. So you're going to be consulting with a counselor here at DVC to make sure that you are aware of any major specific requirements so that you meet all of those, check all those boxes. So the major prep requirements generally are on assist.org. But if you wanted to check for selected majors by campus, you can also look at that on this slide. So Davis has their own tag website, Irvine has their own tag website, and so on. So you can always check that campus-specific tag website for more information about major preparation requirements for selective and screening majors. And when we say selective and screening, we're talking about like the more competitive ones like computer science, biology, economics, psychology, etc. So that was the example that I shared with Davis, computer science. And then here is another requirement that TAG students must meet. For fall 2021, the requirement is that they complete your English and math by this deadline. So when we say English and math, we're talking about our English 122, which is like freshman composition and writing course, and then a critical thinking course is known as the second English. Those must be completed by these stated timelines. And then the math, what that means is any UC transferable math must be completed with a grade of C or higher by this deadline. And so you'll notice that each campus could be a little bit different. And so that could also be another reason why maybe a student says, you know, I was going for Davis, but because the timeline, I don't meet the timeline for Davis, maybe I might shift my tag to Santa Barbara instead, because they're a little bit more lenient on the English rule, for instance. And so the other websites that I shared earlier are specific to each UC campus, but this is the general UC tag website. And so you can always check here for you know, any updates to the tag criterion. They're going to be housing what's called the tag matrix for every year. And that's what all counselors and every student refers to every year to see what the new rules are for the next year. So I'd encourage you to check that website out. If you don't want to find the URL, the easiest way is to just Google UC tag, and then you'll get that website. And if you have questions about tag, the best way is to contact a UC admissions rep at the specific campus that you're considering tagging to. And then to work with a counselor once you get to DVC to start planning out your specific classes that will be needed for tag to that major in campus. So this is a last push to an encouragement to sign up for this other website. It's called the UC TAP. It stands for Transfer Admission Planner. And again, if you Google UC TAP, then you can get the URL right here. And I encourage every student who's interested in transferring to any UC to start a profile on this website, because you can start doing this even as a prospective student and just start getting emails and communication from different UC campuses that you express interest in. You can get special outreach connections and updates from the campuses. You can get advising from UC admissions officers to talk about what remaining courses you might be recommended to take or required to take for your major. You can get peer mentoring through this website, and you can apply for tag. So when the time comes for you to apply for tag and submit that application in September, it's going to be really easy for you if you have a TAP account already set up, because you pretty much all you do is just click submit. And everything, as long as your courses are loaded in there, if you keep your profile updated with your courses at DVC and grades, then it's a really straightforward process. So it will also import all this academic information into your UC application when you apply in November. So it makes for a streamlined process for applicants. So again, create your UC TAP account now, get started on that website. And so I don't know how much time we have left, but if we have time, I'd be happy to take a few questions. And then I also wanted to share that our email address for any questions about tag for DVC transfer, you can email us at careertransfer@dvc.edu, and one of our staff will be happy to help.
And Tina, if you want to check the Q&A, there are some questions that would probably be great for you to answer live.
Great, thanks, Jen. So the first one that I'm seeing, any anecdotal insights into how difficult it is to transfer to UC Berkeley, LA, San Diego. It really depends on the major. I've seen students who they strategically find a major that has a high admissions acceptance rate, and they prepare for that major just to get into that school, because they know they want to go to the school. They don't really care about what major they do, but they just want to go to UCLA, for instance. And so I've seen that happen. And so it really would depend on the major. If we're talking about computer science or engineering, things like that, then it really, it is a very competitive situation. If we're going for business majors, particularly at LA and Berkeley, we're looking at less than a 10% admit rate. And so we really want to bring it with our GPA and, try to get A's in as many courses as possible and take all the courses that are recommended for those majors to make sure to stand out and, bring your best foot forward. But yeah, it is definitely possible to get in. I've seen all kinds of student situations. It's a comprehensive review. And so it's not purely based on the GPA. They take into consideration all kinds of factors like the setting that the student grows up in and the opportunities that present themselves to the student, how the student deals with challenges, et cetera. So it's not like a cut and dry formula. Is transferring to a college outside of the country possible through DVC? Yes, we've worked with students who've gone to like University of Dublin in Ireland, Australia, various places in the UK, Canada, you name it. So yeah, we've seen that happen definitely. Are there any out-of-state schools that participate in TAG? If not, is it best to get an AA or AS? This is a great question. So with the UCs, like I mentioned, the TAG is the way to go for guarantee. But if we're talking about other schools like CSUs, they've designed this other program called the ADTs, the Associate Degree for Transfer, that they really like to admit students who have an ADT. So they'll give you a GPA boost. They'll also guarantee admission to one of the CSU campuses if you get one of those degrees at DVC. And then a lot of private schools noticed that and followed suit. So if you look up AICCU ADT, then you can find a whole list of campuses in California, private schools, that will accept the ADTs into their similar majors as well. And then the historically Black colleges and universities at various places in the United States, they also followed suit and they accept and offer guarantees to students with an ADT. So there's a lot of exciting things happening with ADTs. So it provides students a lot of open doors. How many classes at DVC do you have to take before you transfer somewhere else? So generally the benchmark is 60 units to be eligible for transfer to a UC or CSU. And what that translates to is maybe like 20 classes if they're at 3 units apiece. So some of our courses are higher unit values, some are lower. So generally something like that. And we usually pace it out at 2 or so years if you're going at a full-time pace. Is there a transfer to DVC, transfer from DVC to state universities? So I think we're referring to CSU, state campuses. We definitely have a lot of our students going to CSUs as well. I think as Ed mentioned earlier, a good chunk of our transfer students end up going to CSUs. What do you suggest a senior does the summer before fall classes begin to get a feel for what DVC is like? I might defer to our student panelists to answer this question. So I'll leave that later. And then did COVID situation increase the number of students at DVC? Is it hard to get classes? Again, I'm going to wait for our students to answer that question. And it was the success rate for transfer to UC in biology. That's a really nuanced question that I'm going to refer to this database. UC is all about data and research. And so what they've done is put together this really cool website called the UC Info Center. And I'm going to type that into the chat here. You're welcome to take a look at DVC's transfer rates, any other community colleges transfer rates, high school acceptance rates by major. It gives you a great breakdown of what the GPA ranges for admitted students were, at least the mean of the GPAs, the admissions rates, et cetera. So go ahead and geek out on that. It's a pretty fun read. All right, I think I'm going to turn it over to our students if they have anything to add to those remaining questions. But yeah, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hi, I can answer for the first question. What do you suggest a senior does the summer before fall classes begin? I took a few DVC classes prior to starting my actual fall semester, and I think it gives you a good feel of it. And even if you just take one class, you'll be able to like dip your feet into what a full term class would be like. I think that's definitely a great idea for that one. If Julie and Andrew would like to add anything for that.
Yeah, I'd also like to add, I took English 122 the summer before the fall semester, my first fall semester here at DVC. So yeah, like what Bianca said, it would really give you a feel of what the professor's like, what the environment's like, what kind of students take the classes. Yeah.
Yeah, and to go off of what Julia and Bianca said, take one class in the summer just to see how DB classes are like. And what I did just personally for computer science, I knew the primary language to be used was going to be C++, so I kind of familiarized myself with that, which helped especially in the intro classes. So.
And then in regards to the COVID question, I don't think that it has made a difference to like the impaction of classes. I mean, like I was able to register for all my classes. I didn't really have any problem with that. I'm not sure if Julie and Andrew did though.
So DVC does do a thing where if you take like already a number of units, you can register for classes earlier. So I think that's very helpful. So I personally did not have any problems with getting classes because of COVID.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I didn't think COVID had any effect in getting the classes I wanted to get into. And like Julie was saying, take advantage of priority registration. As soon as you do have that registration date, make sure you go for the classes that you want. So.
Okay, so at this point, I'd like to thank all the participants in our panels and also our counselor for presenting that information. I want to remind everybody that you'll be receiving an email with all these resources and also links to these resources. And also look, as I mentioned earlier, for the recording that will be posted of this session over at our SRC website. I hope that you got a sense of the kind of experience that you would get if you take a class over here at SRC. The team behind this presentation, we were probably about like 20 deep. And that just is a testament to the commitment that our faculty, our staff, and even our student leaders, especially our student leaders too, have towards creating an experience and an environment where you get to succeed. So thank you everybody for participating in tonight's event, and we hope to see you soon.